Let's see if we can move forward a bit. Some of the sexual stuff there. Here's an interesting one. It's very blatant. People have pointed out that this is Aries, it's the devil, blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you really examine the symbol, you'll notice that it's actually a replica of the female generative reproductive system. So it all looks very macho and male on the outside, but it's something quite different on the inside. And some of them are more blatant, of course. I don't think I'll go to get my teeth fixed there. Or here. And for children, of course, you know, you have all sorts of pornographic stuff. The kids exchange. Yeah. And you can really get into depth and analyze the various positionings and like the girl on the left, the praying mantis, and the whole idea of menage a trois and stuff like that. And a lot of symbolism goes into this, a lot of fascinating stuff. As I say, I went into this in the DVD a lot. Let's go to this last one, which is particularly pernicious. You'll often hear this come to the Marlborough country as the logo that they chose. And again, you think about all the thousands of things they could have chosen. Why did they choose this? And why these particular series of images? So we actually, this is what it really means. The come is the orgasm, of course. It's a very famous word used in advertising to represent orgasm. And country is actually a play on words. It's not particularly flattering to women. And it represents, so when you see the hero, the macho hero, roping the cow, you can imagine exactly what it's hinting to. And they use the same idea for the female. The virgin smoking, the smoking virgin, the smoking virgina, the hot chick. And tastes is the take on the word testes for testosterone. Burn slower is sexual, of course. Lasting longer is all sexual rhetoric. And let's never forget, Jean Kilbourne points out something very important that ties into what we've been talking about archetypes, about that content of the unconscious. She says that the Jolly Green Giant, the Michelin Man, the Man from Glad, Aunt Jemima, Alka-Seltzer, the White Knight, and all these otherworldly kin are really descendants of earlier gods. Right? They're simulacras, but behind them are those archetypes that matter a lot, and they're the content of our unconscious. And you can see this again in the movies, in certain fantastic protagonists and otherworldly champions, undefeatable heroes, shape-changing, larger-than-life type of heroes. Some positive, some negative. Very much play on this concept, the invulnerable ones. Every 10 years they wheel out some other type of superhero because this appeals to that regressed, repressed individual. Look at on the left of V for Vendetta, how the swords that he's holding become horns above the girl's head. And on the right, this becomes a triangle. The figures actually become a triangle. These are very ancient motifs, by the way. Or some sort of intrepid, heroic guy that we can identify with, you see. Or again, some sort of justice concept. There's so much injustice in our world, so then we identify with... and I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying this is how it works. And we can embody this in our own lives as well, in our own artwork. We need to be aware of this. But the trouble is that what happens in fiction is perfectly fine. I'm okay with all kinds of fiction, even violent fiction. There's nothing wrong with it because it's fiction. But the point is that can so easily then turn into... Oh, excuse me, wrong one. Oh. What am I looking for? Oh yeah, it can so easily turn into this. Something in the films can so easily transpose itself and turn into a very real life scenario. And then you got life being affected, fiction affecting life. Or you can have the perfect lover, the perfect male sort of archetype. And we'll get into some, when we get into the secret society symbolism, we'll revisit one or two of these and show you. Or again, the wise man of the hills, the wise one, the elder. It's also a very powerful archetype that we lost because we've lost that grandparent shamanic tradition, remember? So they vamp it, upgrade it, and then of course the animus. And in fact some shows are entirely based on archetypes. They're primordial archetypes, scenarios. That's why we have record ratings, and we identify with these people. And what's really happening, though, is that we're again losing our actual sense of identity. This is the really crucial problem. So did anybody work out what that was? Oh, when I know to free hate, to sever no one. It's actually a phone number. Oh, when I know to free hate, to sever no one. How many people got that? In other words, how many people would get a piece of subliminal content? This is just an example, so regardless of what it was. The fact is, very few. Certainly you wouldn't get it in a few seconds like we had that little experiment. This is what I'm talking about. It goes right across into the unconscious mind, and the unconscious mind gets it because there it is, it's a reality. And so this is just one of many examples of what we're talking about. Anyway, we can, how much time do we have? 5 minutes. Well, that just leaves me enough time to thank you all, welcome you, and welcome you back as well, and just thank you for, blame Peter if it's been a hassle, but thank you very much for being here today. Thanks, Peter. Give Peter a round of applause, too. Let me just briefly then just share with you what we will be doing next time. Very quickly. Program 2 will be looking deeply into ancient sorcery. What I've done here is to sketch out what we know today, give you an overview, a lot of what you already know, so that we can then start looking at the history of this thing. And this is going to be very empowering as well, because then we're going to see where they went to for this archive of knowledge that they're using against us. We'll look a bit more into the actual facts of mind control. As I said, we'll look into the secret society symbolism, which is ubiquitous now. You're finding it everywhere. And something very, very dark, which is the satanic cults that operate in Hollyweird, as I call it, or Hollywood, which I've referred to in other works as the Dionysian cult. As I said, they may be arguably not the top of the pyramid, which is another very select brotherhood. But these are individuals who are sort of lieutenants that cover a lot of ground, and it's their handiwork that you're seeing. And I've studied this since the 80s, and this will probably be one of the first times I've really go into it in any kind of depth, and naming the names, basically, taking the lid off the top and showing some of the names that you may be not familiar with, various organizations. And then in Program 3, we'll move on and look at some of the post-human, transhumanist concepts that we dealt with in the Architects of Control, some more movie symbolism, and then ultimately come up to the solutions section, in which we look at some positive symbolism, how this whole thing can be turned around and reinvigorated with the magic as opposed to the sorcery, and then finish with solutions to this whole issue, which again will tie into the psychological and philosophical aspects of this. So you're invited back next time. I look forward to seeing you all and being here again. Thank you so much for being here today.